Hey y'all, today I'm showing you how to make the best chicken fried steak with gravy and mashed potatoes. You guys are going to absolutely love this recipe. Now, some people call this country fried steak. Honey, I don't care what you call it. Just call me when it's done. All right, so I can pull up and get my plate. Okay. Now, I am using, you can really use any cut of steak that you want, but I'm just using a nice, affordable cube steak to do this meal. Now, I've even heard of some people doing this with ribeye. Baby, you bougie if you do this with ribeye. Okay, let me know what cut of steak you typically use for this. Now, technically, cube steak is already tenderized, but we're going to take it to the next level. I have covered it up with some saran wrap, and I am just going to pound it, okay, with a rolling pin, okay? I don't have a meat mallet. I don't be having all of those things in my kitchen, okay? But I know you got a rolling pin. Okay, so you just take it, and what you want to do is pound it one direction, and then you want to turn it and pound it the opposite direction. And then I also like to pound it on the diagonal a little bit. Having it thinner like this is going to help it cook quicker, and I feel like it makes it a little bit less gristly because, you know, this cut of meat is like a bottom roast, which can be a little bit tough. Now, you can season this however you want, but I like to go just simple for my chicken fried steak. So I'm going to use just a little bit of Sazon Tropical, some garlic powder, some onion powder, some pepper. Okay, just going with the classics, some Lowry's, all right, a little seasoned salt. And I'm just going to do this to my taste. You could also even add a little bit of beef bouillon, but I just didn't do that today. If you use the beef bouillon, then you don't have to use the Sazon Tropical. Now, of course, you need to go in and you need to season both sides lightly. Since we are going to be covering this with a flour coating, you don't want to go too heavy-handed because I like to put some seasoning in the flour as well. Plus, y'all know this got a gravy. You know, you don't want to take it overboard, all right? And the steak is pretty thin. Now, if you've been enjoying this so far, you better go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And baby, you see, I know how to season. We know how to cook around here. So you best go ahead and subscribe. Now, I know y'all got some plastic Tupperware. Okay, get two of them. In one of them, go ahead and put 2 eggs. And then into that, I'm going to put in some milk. I put in about a cup of milk, but you could use buttermilk if you have it. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon of hot sauce. Now remember, this is seasoned very similar to the way you might do fried chicken. That is why I am adding all these things to my wet mixture. But to be honest, you could very well just do 4 eggs with a little hot sauce, and that could be fine if you don't have milk and all of that. Okay, don't stress. This simple, easy cooking, okay? Next, I'm going to put about 1.5 cups of flour into my other Tupperware, and I'm just going to lightly season to taste with everything that you've already seen me use. The garlic powder, the white pepper, the Lowry's, a little bit of the Sazon Tropical. However, into my flour mixture at the last minute, I decided to put in about a teaspoon of salt-free Cajun seasoning, but that is totally optional, okay? I am now going to start coating my cube steaks, and first I am going to dip it into the flour, and I'm going to toss it and try to get it on there pretty well. However, you're going to need to shake off any of the excess because you want to try to avoid a lot of excess flour dripping into the egg mixture, unlike me because I was using these tongs, okay, so don't do what I did. And then you're going to dip it back into the flour mixture and then add that on and then shake it off. Then you're going to put it to the side and let this just sit so the coating can get thick and it'll help it stay better on the steak. Now, after I did one, honey, I had to give up being bougie. I just put my clean hands on the steak. I dipped it in the flour, the egg, and then the flour. It was just easier for me. See, I was just putting on for the video. Okay, then I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do it like I really do it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, people been saying you can't touch the food. Well, you know what? I got to touch it to cook. Okay, I guess it's just a southern cook in me that just got to do what I got to do. Okay, and then I'm going to allow this to sit at the side. Okay. Now you're going to see that the coating is going to become, you know, a little bit moist, and that is okay. Just let it sit for about 5 minutes. Now, while this has been sitting, I have been heating up my oil on a medium-high heat. Okay, you don't want it to get crazy hot, but I do test it with a chopstick. You could also test it by throwing in a little bit of flour. If it sizzles immediately, then you know that your oil is hot enough. I'm going to place in my steak away from me because I ain't trying to get popped, okay? And I'm going to let it cook undisturbed for about 3 minutes. Okay, you don't want to put it in there and just start flipping it. All right, just let it cook for a little while to let the coating get nice and crunchy and golden. After that time, I'm going to go ahead and flip it to the other side, and I'm going to allow it to cook for about 3 to 4 more minutes. Now, this is going to cook up really quickly because these steaks are pretty thin, so they're not going to take long to cook at all. In total, I had 5 steaks, so this took hardly no time. Now, once they are done, I'm going to take them out and I'm going to put them on a rack that I have under a baking sheet. Do not put them on a paper towel. They will get soggy. In between cooking every batch of steak, I just go in there and I get out those bits so that they don't burn and the burnt bits don't get stuck to my steaks. Now, in a clean skillet, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter and 3 tablespoons of the seasoned flour that we've already, seasoned the steak with. And I'm going to toast this just for about 1 minute, stirring it continuously. I am not someone who likes to use the oil that the steak was fried in because sometimes that can give your gravy a burnt taste. I do know some people like to get a really white gravy. Look, I don't care about the color of my gravy as long as it tastes good, okay? Now I'm going to go in with about 1.5 cups of milk, and I'm going to stir this vigorously just to get it well incorporated. And then I'm going to put in about 1/4 cup of heavy cream to add in a very nice richness. You can season this to taste, but I do like to put in a teaspoon of low sodium better than bouillon, as well as a little bit of white pepper and probably about 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Make sure your gravy is well seasoned because nobody wants a bland gravy. I feel like that defeats the purpose of adding a gravy to your meal. I feel like gravies are supposed to add a nice, good flavor. Now, the perfect thing to go with this gravy is some mashed potatoes. Ooh, you make these mashed potatoes and this gravy, baby, you gonna be eating, okay? Now, I'm gonna put some rosemary and a generous amount of salt into my water. You could also add a chicken bouillon cube, and I'm just gonna boil 1 pound of potatoes until they are fork tender. Then I'm going in with 3 tablespoons of salted butter, about 1/2 cup of heavy cream, and some sour cream. You could also add a little bit of cheese at this stage, especially like maybe 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, and just melt that in there. Salt and pepper this generously on low heat. And then you are going to add your drained potatoes back in. Use a potato masher to go in there. Okay, work that thing, get your little arm workout and mash these until they are nice and smooth. I went in after I mashed them and added about 2 more tablespoons of butter so that it can be super rich. I paired this with just some frozen peas that I defrosted in the microwave. Now, this chicken fried steak, country fried steak, whatever you want to call it, baby, with this gravy and mashed potatoes and peas is downright delicious. Let me know if you make this meal in the comment section. Remember, I love you and Jesus loves you. And I know I'm going to see you next time at Camirra's Kitchen. Goodbye.